What's happening, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Mindset. I'm not going to say podcast anymore, even though it is an episode of the technical podcast. This is a regional roundup. But yeah, obviously, as you've probably seen on the post that I put out, I'm changing everything up. I'm going to be doing more of the interview style videos, as well as the podcast, as well as some news announcements, maybe some lists of top five prospects coming out of the UK, top five prospects in Europe. I'm absolutely buzzing and so excited for what's going to happen. Everything looks different. It's all a new look. It's all professional, clean. I've had loads and loads of messages of people saying, "Oh, look, it looks so much better," and just obviously congratulating me on kind of getting my head in the game and learning different things. I'm learning how to subtitle videos. You'll have seen yesterday I posted a video, well, a subtitled little clip of a video that I did with Nathan Fletcher. So I'm just so happy, so happy. Thank you so much for the response that I'm getting. I'm so excited for the future. I've got Liam Gittins coming on to speak about, well, a fight that we'll speak about in this video. Got him coming on to speak about that, and that'll get released on Tuesday. So I'm so excited, and thank you so much for the amazing response that I've had from obviously all the artwork and the updates that have gone up. All right, that's just a little thank you from me. But without further ado, this is episode 13 of the MMA Mindset podcast, another regional roundup. I know that Cage Warriors isn't technically a regional show. I know it's a worldwide show now. They've got shows in not just Europe, but like San Diego Cage Warriors. So it is a world show. It doesn't really too much fit in with the regional roundup, but it was in the UK. It's full of the top talent to come out of the regional scene in the UK. So I want to do a video of it. I had such a good time watching the whole fight card last night. Some great fighters on there, some fighters that I know and like, and yeah, it was an amazing card top to bottom. Wouldn't look better than some to, if not majority of the fight night cards that we get put on, maybe barring one or two fights, stacked from top to bottom. I can't wait to get into it, give out the awards at the end, smash out some of the new graphics that we've got, new thumbnails. Yeah, so can't wait to get into this. Kicking off the card, Tom Creasy versus Anders Sanchez. Tom Creasy, the brother of Sam Creasy, former Cage Warriors flyweight champion. Big hopes coming from him, but no slouch for an opponent in Anders Sanchez. And Creasy came out, got the takedown early in the first round. It kind of was obvious what he wanted to do was to get the fight to the floor, work the ground and pound, and finish the fight. If not, win a clear decision. Few guillotines from Sanchez. Didn't really seem to trouble Creasy too much. He wasn't really having to defend the hands. He was kind of happy there just to wait it out. So there wasn't really much to worry about. And once he alleviated himself of that position, he landed some unbelievable ground and pound and controlled the position in that first round. Round two, got the submission, got the takedown again. More ground control, more ground and pound. Just looked so composed on top and looked perfectly. I don't even know what the word is, but looked great in the positions. And then the third round, pretty much a carbon copy of the first. He took down Sanchez. Sanchez held onto a guillotine that looked a little bit tighter. He had a bit more of a better position. Had a little bit more like leverage and a little bit more of the shoulder over the top of the neck to get that squeeze on. But Creasy stayed calm, stayed composed, waited it out. Got out of the submission pretty easily. Controlled the rest of the round again, and looked really good. I'm looking forward to seeing Creasy's from a great team, and really looking forward to seeing how he's going to progress, because when he's got a team like that, and like his brother obviously being one of the former title holders, he's kind of got that experience to lean on as well when he needs to. So yeah, super excited to see how Creasy gets on in the next couple of fights. Moving on to the next fight of the night, Wesley Machado versus George Tanasa. This was a weird fight. I think you heard like Brad on commentary. He was saying that he'd learned some Portuguese words that he wasn't expecting to hear that night. It was Machado came out with sort of like a McGregor style MVP, Wonder Boy stance, really wide, hands down by his knees, sideways on, like kind of like fading in and out. And he was landing some good leg kicks, um, but Tanasa's punches just seem to be affecting Machado a lot more than his strikes were affecting Tanasa, especially in that second round. Like I said, one of the commentators was saying that he scored it as a 10-8. One of the judges scored it as a 10-8. I kind of had it teetering on the edge of maybe being a 10-8. I don't think it was as clear as a 10-8 as some people were thinking, but I think he did dominate that second round, and then the third round as well. He got some damaging strikes, another takedown, some more ground control. So yeah, Tanasa looked great in this, and I think Machado's corner, like Brad said, it's going to be a rough car drive home for him because he wasn't listening. It didn't seem like he was listening to his corner, and he kind of fell in love with that sideways style. And I think obviously, like I said, he was kicking the leg well, and he was causing a bit of an issue with Tanasa's front leg, but not nearly enough to kind of slow him down and to win the fight. There was some vicious ground and pound in the second from Tanasa. He did look like a machine, and really grew into the fight as the minutes went on. So yeah, fantastic fight there. And like I said, Tanasa, great performance, and it wasn't what's the word, decomposed. No, that is definitely not the word. Wasn't thrown off by Machado's style when he came out in that sideways stance, which I don't think it was something he expected. Because if his coaches didn't expect it, he's not going to. His opponent's not. You're not going to expect it either. So yeah, that was a great fight, and another just display of amazing fighting and level of fighters on this card. Moving on to another debutant in Cage Warriors, personal fan favorite of mine, Bailey Gilbert, fought veteran Tom Mearns, really tough dude fighting out BST Academy. This wasn't Bailey, and Bailey has said this himself. This wasn't his peak level of performance, and it was super disappointing because I had really high hopes for it. But I'm not entirely sure what happened. But Bailey said there's no excuse that it just wasn't good enough on the night. And to be fair, Tom Mearns kind of surprised me. Whilst he didn't do too much with the advantageous positions that he did have on the ground, I mean he held Bailey there, and I was expecting to see maybe a few more submissions being thrown up, a few more triangles, maybe rolling for a leg, rolling for the knee. But no, Bailey kind of just sat there underneath him, which was a bit confusing to me. And like I said, Tom kept strong, and some of his passes, some of his transitions were beautiful from half guard into side control, back to back to half guard again, and he seemed to float over the top of Bailey, which was not something I expected. And the same happened in the second round. While Bailey was landing some elbows off his back and cut Tom, it just wasn't enough. Came out in that third round, Bailey, and kind of started to find his range as Tom was slowing down, started to land shots, maybe wobbled him a little bit, and took the third round. But I think it was just a little bit too late to kind of do anything with. So yeah, that's really unfortunate for Bailey. But anyone who's not seen him fight, anyone that's the first time you've seen him fight, don't let that fool you, because Bailey is a fantastic fighter. 8 finishes in 8 wins kind of speaks for itself, and 7-1 in his last 8 before the Tom Mearns fight. This kid, especially, he's 23 as well, and I don't see. And I wouldn't see anyone else making their Cage Warriors debut at the age of 23 and taking on like someone like Tom Mearns. There's people in their third, fourth Cage Warriors fight that still aren't fighting someone at the level with Tom Mearns with that experience and that grittiness and determination. So, yeah, I don't think Bailey could take a lot of good things away from that, and it's a big learning experience. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see what Bailey's going to do. But yeah, well done to Tom Mearns. You've kind of shut down a kid with a lot of hype, especially from guys who watch the regional scene and put on a fantastic performance. And even I think, yeah, Tom did miss weight by 5 pounds, which is quite a lot. But you can put emphasis on that, and obviously you shouldn't have missed weight and should be more professional. But at the end of the day, skill for skill, I think Tom just had it on the night. Moving on to like we're talking about the Liam Gittins fight, Liam, who's going to be coming on the channel on Tuesday. This kid, I'd spoke about him on the previous Fighter Origins last week with Nathan Fletcher, his teammate. Most avoided fighter in the bantamweight division, so much that he had to move up to featherweight to get a fight for this card. I know that he's obviously been dealing with some late notice opponents and some chopping and changing and stuff like that. But and obviously his opponent had as well, Johnny Alone and Kumala. Yeah, he'd obviously took the fight on a week's notice, so props to him for taking that fight, because if you know the sport well, you know that Liam Gittins isn't a joke, and he's really hitting some form, and he's a vicious fighter. So yeah, Liam just came in, flurry of strikes, dropped him, and then landed some relentless elbows, and obviously the referee had seen enough pretty soon. It's going to be strange, weird to know where Liam's going to go from here. Obviously, I'm going to speak to him on Monday, ready for Tuesday, and see where his head's at, where he wants to stay, whether he wants to stay in the bantamweight division, or he wants to move up to featherweight. Obviously, Nathan's in the bantamweight division, and the logical fight for that bantamweight title now that Kaelin's signed for the UFC is Reese McEwen versus Nathan Fletcher. And then obviously if Nathan wins the belt, it's kind of hard for Liam to aspire to get the belt when his teammate and his good friend holds that title. So obviously I'll speak to him and we'll see where he's at, and hopefully, like I said, if he wants to move up to featherweight, he'll find it a bit easier to get a fight there, and there'll be nothing in his way of achieving that top goal of becoming a Cage Warriors world champion. So yeah, well done to Liam, and great to see him have that moment with Paddy and Molly at the end. Moving on to what a fight as well. I know Jake from Fight and Talk, sorry, he posted on Twitter just before the fight had happened between Mahandu and Grant Ogborn, saying this could be one of the fights of the night, and it definitely was. Straight off the bat, Mahandu rocked, well, not rocked as such, but landed a beautiful right hand that cut Ogborn over underneath his left eye. I couldn't really tell which one it was. And whilst Ogborn was throwing back, and he was throwing a lot of these high energy strikes, spinning kicks, jumping knees, big looping overhands, Mahandu was just keeping that striking laser focused, and nice jabs, straights, everything from a parallel, or yeah, everything parallel, straight down the middle, and it was just landing. And by the end of that fight, Ogborn looked an absolute mess, and I think he kind of just suffered for not being the more accurate of the fighters. Round three, we saw Mahandu just pour it on to Grant, and I think the referee had just seen enough by that point. Like, Ogborn's face was an absolute mess, and Andy was only growing into the fight, which was mental after the amount of output that he put out. To carry on growing into that fight into the third rounds is huge to your focus and your cardio, and to not get dragged into the war that Ogborn kind of seemed like he wanted, and that had probably have served his fight style a bit better than it was going for the previous two rounds. But no, got the finish in the third round. I think it was a good finish, because whilst there was only a minute left, you don't need to take more shots to the head for a minute when you're not gonna. It doesn't look like you're gonna win that fight. Obviously, never say never in MMA. We've seen that from time to time, that you can never ever count anyone out until the last second. Like, look at our current champion Leon, against Usman. He was losing that fight, and then he ended up winning in the last 30 seconds with a head kick. But yeah, I think this was a good stoppage, and really excited to see what Taka's got, and now he's got that win back from an unfortunate fight last time out. Moving on, Emil Brown, training partner of Leon Edwards versus Jesse Erholin. This was what looked like to me. Obviously, I didn't know too much about either guy. I was a bit ashamed to say, but this looked like to me striker versus grappler, and Jesse wanted that takedown, and he grinded for that takedown in the early portions of the first round. But Emil just refused to accept that position. Was constantly moving, making it difficult for Jesse to kind of establish any base. And as soon as he got back to his feet, he landed an uppercut from hell, which I'll go out now and I'll spoil it for everyone, but I'll say that's my knockout of the night, because I love it when people are just it sounds a bit sadistic and a bit deranged, but I love it when one shot puts you out and you're out cold and you're done. And that's what Brown did. The perfect uppercut, straight. It looked like Jesse was about to just change levels again, and O'Neal read it and straight with the rear hand uppercut that shut the lights out. And yeah, looking forward to kind of seeing what O'Neal does. Moving on in his career, when he's got such a fantastic team and people like Leon in your corner. You're only going to get better as a fighter, and that display there will give him a lot of confidence moving into his next fight. Angus Hewitt, Conor Hayes. This was a bit of a wild, wiry fight for as long as it lasted, and it was never really clear who was winning the fight. Hayes dropped Hewitt early in the first round, but Hewitt kind of reversed position from that point and ended up on top. Um, it's just something I want to talk about is the referees were standing the fighters up far too often and warning them far too often for my liking. And I don't go as far as Joe Rogan and say that there shouldn't be stand-ups in MMA and the referees shouldn't be involving themselves in the grappling sequences. But when they're working, just let them work. And I just don't know why, but the referees kind of just rubbed me up a little bit the wrong way last night. They were kind of getting too involved in the action to the point where it was bugging me, and I could see that it was bugging the fighters. In the next fight that we'll talk about, I think that this was most prominent. But yeah, so that Movaheady, and I've got all most respect for Movaheady. Like, he's one of the best referees on the scene. Lovely guy, love chatting to him, and he's a proper sound bloke. But it was just bugging me last night with the stand ups and the constant chatting in their ear whilst they're trying to fight an advanced position. And yeah, hopefully that was just kind of an anomaly on that card, and it's not something that we're going to keep seeing over and over again. But Hewitt got another takedown, landed some nasty ground and pound, finished the round on top. Um, Round two, Hayes came out, and he seemed to have dropped Hewitt again, but I wasn't quite sure what happened against the cage there. But Hayes went on top, started landing his own ground strikes, but then the referee stood them up again. And I think even the commentator said this could be massive in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not saying it's the only reason the fight ended how it did, but it looks like that was definitely one of the reasons, because Hayes was working on top as well. It was really unusual. But yeah, Hewitt landed a massive right hand that wobbled Hayes, got the mount and landed ridiculous hammer fists, and then follow up ground and pound. And then the referee stopped the fight, rightly so, because Hayes wasn't recovering there. But I'd have liked to have seen what had happened if the referee hadn't have stood Hayes and Hewitt up whilst Hayes was on top, because I think that was a poor decision, and ultimately it looks like it led to Hewitt getting the victory. But obviously, I'm not going to talk too much about that. Apart from this next fight, I will mention it. But apart from that, obviously, that's my feelings about the whole stand-ups last night. And I'm pretty sure, man, I didn't see too much of it online, so I don't know whether people were unhappy as well, whether I'm just being a whingy little bitch. But yeah, wasn't too happy with how it was done through the night. But here's one thing I will say. Whilst I wasn't happy with how it was done, at least it was consistent. And that's to be fair, that's what I'd rather have. I'd rather not have my ideology of how the rules should be implemented. I'd rather just have consistency. And that's what it was. It was consistent, and all the refs were doing it. All the refs were doing it at the same time. So yeah, that's all I can ask for at the end of the day is consistency. But maybe just a little bit more leniency and letting them work in that position next time would benefit the fighters and people watching at home, especially people who enjoy the grappling aspect. Move on to Will Curry versus Jorge Bueno. Jorge got a takedown early in this fight. By the way, Jorge's a fucking big. He's not a big dude as in terms of height, but he's a thick dude, and looks like he's packs a lot of power and a lot of strength in that body and that frame. And he managed to come out and get a takedown early in the first round, but Curry reversed position beautifully, and then was landing strikes on top and then landing the elbows. And then the Matt Goddard, it was, sorry, he stopped the fight for elbows on the back of the head. Yes, they did hit. Some of them did hit the back of the head, and Curry was adamant that they did. And I don't think Curry would have got a point deducted if he didn't argue. And like I said, I think that was kind of I don't know if you should get a point to take him for arguing. So I'd quite like to ask Mark as to whether he would have deducted that point if Curry wasn't like, watch it, you watch it back, watch the replay. But I think Curry was just scared that Jorge was going to take the easy way out and give up, as he was saying to Mark. But all due respect to Bueno, he got back up and ready, went to fight again. So yeah, all due respect to him, because like I said, it is easy for people to, maybe if they feel like the fight's not going their way and they feel maybe a few shots on the back of the head, or like it happens with eye pokes or low blows, to take the easy way out and either take the DQ or the no contest, and doesn't go down as a loss on your record. But yeah, the round two, Will, I think he got taken down again, reverse position again, beautifully. Finished the fight with vicious elbows to the body and to the head. And then his pre-fight interview, I saw he was not so complimentary about the person who he lost to last time, Mick Stanton. Obviously made some accusational statements about him, and I'd love to get Will on and have a chat with him about that. So that might be something that you see in the near future, is Will Curry on the MMA Mindset, talking about maybe some of his disgruntlements about certain people in the sport. But yeah, will look great, and he's definitely a talent, and looks to have loads and loads of potential moving forward. Moving on to the main card, this fight wasn't meant to be on the main card, which I think was absolutely ridiculous, because it should have been on the main card. It just should have been along the main card, but I'm glad it got bumped up to the main card. I'm not sure why that was. I don't know whether the prelims just ran a little bit longer than they expected, so they needed like the time to get onto the main card. But this was Harry Hardwick, versus Estevam. Unreal pressure from Harry in the first round, like Nate Diaz style, like pressure of just constantly touching touching his opponent, and wasn't giving him a minute to breathe, minute to rest. And this was wearing on Estevam a lot. And on the second round, one of the slickest transitions to a rear naked choke that I've ever seen in my entire life, from a tie clinch to a knee to grab the momentum and then to snatch up the rear naked choke, which looked so tight. Like someone on MMA UK said, it looked like their eyes were going to pop out their head, and that's exactly what it looked like. And Harry looked phenomenal there. And obviously with George being on the Contender Series, maybe Harry is going to kind of hit this purple patch now, start finishing a few higher level opponents, and we could see a Hardwick takeover in the UFC. Get both brothers in there. That would be phenomenal. But no, well done to Harry Hardwick. He looked great in that fight, in the striking, and then ultimately the grappling as well. Moving on to one of the fights that I was really excited for, Luke Riley versus Mateus Malta. Malta's a training partner of Jose Aldo, one of my favorite fighters. So I was expecting big things from Malta, and this was a big step up in competition for Luke to take, because Mateus has the more fights on his record. Obviously, has that that can't even get my words out today. Has that on his record of being one of Jose Aldo's training partners. Obviously, Jose sent that video to him, basically like wishing him luck, and that was great to see. So yeah, it was a super tough fight for Luke to take, but one that I think he needed to take to maybe put any of the doubters to bed about, oh well, he's 6-0 now, he should be taking bigger fights against more experienced and better people. But that's certainly what he did, and he looked unbelievable doing it. Beautiful striking from Luke in the first. Great takedown defense. His sprawls looked really strong. He was posting really well on the neck and on the shoulders of his opponents to kind of nullify that takedown threat. One thing I did notice is he likes to do this. He gets really excited throwing the hands, and he kind of holds his chin up there a bit like Paddy. He reminds me so much of Paddy, and I don't know whether it's just the hair, but I also think it's the fighting style, the striking style. So I do get a little bit worried, because I really like Luke and I want him to succeed, and I think he could be a big star in the sport. But I just get really scared when he's holding that chin out there, and it showed in his last fight that he did have a chin, because he got caught a few times and dropped. And yeah, but Luke looked phenomenal in this fight, and against, like I said, an experienced opponent in Mateus Malta. I was really impressed to see how he handled it. Malta came back into it in the last like 20 seconds of round 1 and 2, both times, where he kind of went all for broke and landed a few shots. Maybe at the end of the second round, he I think he wobbled Luke a little bit. Luke kind of like walked backwards and wasn't too sure, but whilst it didn't have the most action in it on the third round, this was actually the round that impressed me most about Luke. He came out and it was a very mature third round. He knew that he was up 2-0. He knew he didn't have to do anything silly. A lot of the times with these people who have got exciting fight styles and are known for getting finishes, they feel like they've got to go after that finish. And he didn't do that. He wasn't stupid. He came out very smart final round, good takedown defense again, clever striking. Wasn't a couple of times he let his hands go, but he wasn't just throwing bombs. And yeah, 30-27 did, and he looked phenomenal doing so. And I think he can be really, really impressed by the way that he's performed, especially in that third round. Like I said, it goes under the radar a little bit that third round because he didn't do what he normally did, but maybe that was the right thing to do. And I'd love to hear what his coaches said to him after the second round, as if to say if that was a adjustment that his coaches had suggested, or whether that was an adjustment that he'd taken upon himself to make sure that he got the victory and kept that undefeated record. So yeah, I don't know who we're going to get Luke next against next, but I'm really excited to see who they're going to put him up against. Onto Daniel Skabinski versus Madars Fleminas. This was a great fight for 2 rounds, but Fleminas just showed really good striking, but it was a beautiful takedown by Skabinski in the last couple of minutes and kind of kept on with the control there. But all over in the second round, Fleminas shut the lights out with a flurry of strikes coming in, and then follow up ground strikes. It was kind of a tale of the striking versus the grappling, and Fleminas's grappling was not grappling, sorry, striking was just too much for Skabinski, and this was two guys who could be fighting for the title very, very shortly. And Fleminas was doing the belt thing after the fight, so I think he's gonna call his shot, and I'm here for it. That'd be a fantastic fight. I'd love to see Fleminas get his opportunity at the title there. So yeah, well done. I know I've kind of just skipped through that fight, but not much happened apart from that big takedown from Skabinski, and then the knockout or the TKO from Fleminas. Moving on to a fight that I'd seen all over social media all week, had a bit of bad blood behind it. Morgan Chachari versus Diego Silva. This was a fight I had real high hopes for, and Morgan landed a beautiful leg kick that was perfectly placed and dropped Diego in the first. And then he secured Diego's back, was looking for the rear naked, but just controlled the rest of the round there. But he looked really good in that first round. Those leg kicks were naughty. And then in the second round, he threw a left hand that dropped Diego, controlled the rest of the round on the feet after Diego was able to recover. He showed a great chin, Diego, but it was all Morgan all fight. He looked fantastic, and I was super impressed by his skills. And in round 3, Morgan just controlled the paces again, and then finished him with strikes after kind of Diego seemed to run out of steam a little bit. I think you can only take so much, and Chachari was kind of putting his toe on him all fight. And like I said, the body will eventually just give up, and Morgan got the finish in the third. And I saw that Paul Hughes was calling for a rematch on Twitter, and I'd sign me up for that, because that'd be absolutely phenomenal to see, and I'd be buzzing for that for that fight to happen. Onto the co-main event, Jordan Vucenic versus Bryce Picard. This was just a perfect display of mixed martial arts from Jordan, and his fight IQ for someone who I think he's 27 is so high, and he's been in so many high level fights by the age of 27. So I think this is kind of where his fight IQ comes from. He controlled round 1 on the feet, then got the takedown and rode out the rest of the round with some lovely accurate ground and pound. There's no wasted movement with Jordan. It's all methodical and for a reason, and he's not just throwing for the sake of throwing. He was taking his time with his shots on the floor and landing hard shots right on the face of Picard, and he looked absolutely phenomenal. Second round, got the takedown straight away and secured his patented rear naked choke. There's not many people, I think, especially in Cage Warriors, who are as good with the rear naked choke as Jordan is, and that's his second win of 2023. So really looking forward to kind of seeing what's next for him. It's difficult because obviously we're all expecting Paul to get signed by the UFC, so it kind of holds up the division a little bit, and I don't know where they get to a point where I don't know if they've offered maybe Paul a fight, but a rubber match against Jordan for Jordan with Paul would be the most logical fight in my opinion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. But no, buzzing for Jordan to get that to get that win. And like I said, I think the only thing that really is left for him is the title fight. And then if the title fight doesn't happen, I think the UFC should be looking at him anyway because he's got character, he's got charisma, and he's obviously got the skills to hang with the best in the world. On to the main event, Mick Stanton versus James Webb. This wasn't the fight I was looking forward to the most. This was the fight that I think I had flown under the radar with me a little bit, and I'm more than happy to say that Mick's kind of had a career resurgence, and he looked great with getting the belt, and James looks like he packed on a load of size for this fight as well. He looked massive, and Webb dominated from the first bell and leveled Stanton with some nasty body shots, and it's not something that you often see people recover from. People say obviously you can condition your chin, but you can't condition your liver or your solar plex. And it looks like this was where James was hitting him directly in the liver or the solar plex, and two really nasty shots that look like, and I'd even said, oh, this is over, it's gonna one more and he's gonna be finished. But Stanton recovered. Webb kept targeting the body, but he recovered, and his defense looked great, and then he landed a beautiful hook and finished the fight on the floor. It was a crazy comeback, and something that I didn't expect. Like I said, I was kind of counting Stanton out of that after he'd got hurt to the body, because you don't see many people get hurt to the body and recover. It's normally a fight ending sequence is a body shot, because like I said, it takes its toll, and it ruins the gas tank, and your body just shuts off. Whereas obviously if you get wobbled, you can kind of like clinch up and kind of wait out the rest of the round so you regain your senses. But with your whole body just shuts down, and it's really difficult to recover from that. This looks like the most logical scenario, which is a rubber match between the two, which is yeah, definitely what I think's probably going to happen, because that was one of the craziest one round fights I've ever had and ever seen, and this kind of just moves me into the awards bit of the night quite conveniently. Whereas there were some beautiful fights, some great fights, some fantastic fights that could have deserved the MMA Mindset Fight of the Night award. But just for, and I know this will probably not make sense to a lot of people because it was only one round, but if it's one of the best one round fights you've ever seen, like, same fight of the night is the fight as a whole. A fight isn't just a fight if it goes 3 rounds, or it goes 2.5 rounds, or it goes 2 rounds. A fight is just however long the fight goes on for. And if the fight went on for 4 minutes like it did, but it was one of the best 4 minutes of fighting I've seen this year, then that's obviously going to win my fight of the night. So yeah, Mick Stanton and James Webb, they take on fight of the night award, and I'm sure that taking that title back home for Mick Stanton probably feel a little bit better than that. But yeah, they definitely got my fight of the night. Knockout of the night, obviously I already mentioned Emil Brown, but that uppercut, which was disgusting, like shut the lights out. And like I said earlier, I love it when that happens. So yeah, that was a brutal uppercut from hell, and looking forward to seeing what he does. And then submission of the night. Was there any? I think this might be really easy because I don't know if there was any of the real submissions. I think it was just the one. But even if there was other submissions on the night, it wouldn't have been as good as Harry Hardwick's. That transition to the back take from tie clinch and then the squeeze on that rear naked choke was so special. So yeah, that definitely secures submission of the night, on a night where I don't think there was any other submissions, or there might have been one or maybe two. But yeah, this was a fantastic, fantastic finish, and kind of showcased his skills. And he says he gets that rear naked choke from bottom side, bottom position side control, which is mental to hear. I'd love to see that happen. But yeah, those are the awards, and then that's the card wrapped up. Sorry if it was a little bit quick today. I normally find it moves a little bit slower when I'm doing it with someone, but I didn't have anyone on today. So, but no, I enjoyed myself. Like I said, just super buzzing to have everything up and running now in regards to getting the graphics sorted, getting the logo sorted. Going to get some like hoodies and t-shirts printed. So yeah, just keep an eye out for all that sort of stuff. Looking for sponsors eventually once I start to grow a little bit. New way of promoting everything. So yeah, super excited. But no, thank you very much for watching. Please just like, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram. But no, that's thank you very much. Cheers.